think you can stop this? The ether cannot be destroyed.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Marvelous Videos. Today we have something extra special in store for all Marvel fans. Whether you love the comic books or the movies, this is a character that you have definitely encountered. Known in the Marvel Universe as Malekith the Accursed, he's one of the most powerful supervillains who is an enemy not just of Thor, but of all 9 realms. His story is slightly different in the movie compared to the origins in the comic, so in today's video, we're going to explore the deep psyche of this supervillain by taking a look at his origins, storylines, and powers. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you so much. Let's get started. Who is Malekith? This creature is a dominant and powerful force in the dark world. He practices dark fairy magic, but that's not all that he's known for. If you jog your memory a little bit and think about Thor's stories, you will recall 9 realms of the cosmic nexus Yggdrasil. One of these realms, Asgard, is where Thor comes from. Another such realm is known as Svartalfheim. This place, which is also called the Dark World by other inhabitants of the 9 realms, is the home of a species known as the Dark Elves. And if you still have not guessed it, then let me tell you that Malekith is none other than the ruler of the Dark Elves. He's one of the most powerful enemies that Thor and Jane Foster have come across. What is Malekith's origin story? Malekith was born into the Black Bile clan, one of the tribes of the Dark Elves of Svartalfheim. The leaders of this clan are known as the Lords of the Wild Hunt, as they breed massive hounds to serve as war dogs. He was the 13th son of a 13th son and Lady Mazzaroth of the Black Bile clan. Even before he was born, his community, the Dark Elves, had been embroiled in wars led by their king, Kra the Uncontrollable. During the 43rd Troll War, Lady Mazzaroth lost many family members, leaving Malekith grieving the deaths of his father, his 12 uncles, and all his 12 brothers. As a young boy, Malekith feared he would share the same fate as his family. However, Lady Mazzaroth promised him that he would never become a soldier. What she did to fulfill that promise was far from motherly. She sold her only son to the Undertaker elves of the Svartalfheim southern swamps in exchange for food to keep her war dogs alive. After being sold, Malekith was tasked with burning the 3,000 corpses of fallen Dark Elves, ignoring those of their enemies. Although his childhood began in despair, Malekith's life soon took a drastic turn. One day, while burning corpses, he was discovered by trolls who abducted him and kept him as a prisoner of war. Among the prisoners was an older elf who claimed to have once been a wizard. The old prisoner told Malekith he needed food, specifically meaty millipedes, to regain his strength and perform magic. Out of respect, Malekith began cooking the millipedes. That was when the prisoner revealed his true identity as a dark elf sorcerer. Using his regained powers, the wizard killed several trolls, enabling their escape. Over time, Malekith became the sorcerer's apprentice. The Dark Elves remained embroiled in endless wars against the Light Elves, the Dwarves, and even the gods. The sorcerer soon realized that Malekith was a prodigy in magic, the most naturally gifted spellcaster he had ever encountered. Eventually, Malekith surpassed his master, and the sorcerer declared his training complete. Believing Malekith's immense power could end the Dark Elves' endless and futile wars, the sorcerer asked for his help, assuming Malekith would be eager to bring peace after all he had endured. To his horror, Malekith stabbed him with every sharp piece of cutlery in sight. Malekith declared that war gave purpose to the souls of the Dark Elves, and that as long as he lived, there would always be war. He saw himself as a product of war, shaped by its relentless demands. As the old wizard lay dying, he cast one final spell, turning half of Malekith's face black as a mark of his true nature. Afterward, Malekith returned to his birthplace, not out of longing for his mother, Lady Mazzaroth, but to exact revenge. He fed her to her own hound dogs, claiming the title of Lord of the Wild Hunt. Notable storylines of Malekith. The character of Malekith is created by the phenomenal Walter Simonson, who's also famously known for the creation of Beta Ray Bill. Malekith made his first appearance in the Marvel Comics in Thor Volume 1, Issue 344, which was released in 1984. Let's now take a look at some of his notable storylines from the comic books. Malekith is introduced to us as an enemy of the Asgardians from the beginning. The first time we hear anything about him is when he is summoned to meet with Loki. He forms an alliance with him as a way to help himself and a fire demon known as Surtur. There's an item that he is seeking, the Casket of Ancient Winters, an Asgardian artifact that, if unleashed, could create massive snowstorms since it contains the Fimbulwinter of Ymir. We see Malekith for the first time in Loki's castle, where he's trying to kill Balder the Brave, who has come all the way to Asgard to give Odin's message to Loki. Loki also tells us that apparently, eons ago, Odin had banished Malekith to the limbo of endless night. I guess this explains their mutual hatred towards Asgard. Malekith leaves Balder's fate in the hands of his demons after ordering them to kill him. But despite taking an oath of non-violence, Balder is forced to fight and manages to get rid of all of them. He then rushes towards Malekith and Loki in a fit of rage and lunges his sword at Malekith. But the sorcerer suddenly disappears into thin air, leaving behind just his robe. Unbeknownst to anyone, Malekith uses his powers to travel to Earth, where the Casket of Ancient Winters is protected by Dr. Eric Willis. A strange incident takes place. Strange events follow. Dr. Willis calls his secretary, Sheila Ordway, into his office and suddenly attacks her, forcing a burger down her throat. This inexplicably causes her to crumble to dust. Luckily, the cops were nearby and heard her screams, leading to Dr. Eric's arrest. Some confusion about his behavior will soon be clarified. While he's in jail, an officer known as Rosie Greer discusses him on the phone with someone. She then gives cookies to all the other officers and tells Eric that they are now under the spell of her master. These cookies are foods from the fairy realm, indicating that her master is, in fact, Malekith. Eric tricks her into eating a French fry, and then, just like Sheila, Officer Greer crumbles to dust. His suspicions were proved correct after all. At this point, Dr. Eric realizes that Malekith is on the move and that he and the casket are in danger. As directed by him, Struther from the law office of Struther and Marty assumes Eric is missing and sends a package apparently to his father. What Struther does not know is that this person, Roger Willis, is not Eric's father, but his son. He looks older than Eric because as long as he was in possession of the casket, he did not age. Struther also informs Thor about these recent events. Meanwhile, Eric was on his way to see his son when some people started chasing him. Malekith's minions doing their job. His life was in danger when a young woman stopped her car next to him and offered him a lift. She introduces herself as Angel, and Eric seems drawn to her. Soon it is revealed that the music Angel plays in her car has put Eric under a spell. She asks him for the location of the Casket of Ancient Winters. If you're confused, this woman is none other than Malekith in disguise. Due to the effects of the spell, Eric ends up revealing information about his son before Malekith kills him and flies off to pay Roger a visit, leaving Eric's dead body in the car. In New York, Roger Willis follows his dad's instructions to retrieve the casket and finds it in a corner under the West Side Highway. Soon after, Malekith arrives, but finds an empty bag. In a fit of rage, he blows his horn and summons the Wild Hunt. The hounds of the hunter come through the sky and quickly locate Roger in a cab. He tries to fight them off using his .45 pistol and manages to kill some hounds. However, their master, the huntsman, attacks him before he can escape. With one bullet left, Roger kills the huntsman's mount just as he is about to be killed with a spear by the huntsman himself. Suddenly, a huge bolt of lightning strikes him, revealing him as Malekith the Accursed. Well, he's obviously not going down without a fight, so he releases his hounds on Thor. But our mighty Thor is the god of thunder, and he soon realizes Malekith's weakness. Iron is the bane of all inhabitants from the realm of fairy, and so Thor attacks Malekith with a huge beam of iron. Malekith accepts his defeat and runs away with his hounds. But he's not going to give up so easily. He abducts Thor's love interest, Melody, who's actually Lorelei, the younger sister of the sorceress Amora, the enchantress of Asgard. When Thor reaches Melody's apartment with Roger, he finds Malekith's message instructing him to meet in Fairy's Heart, the Cotswolds of England, with the casket if he wants to save Melody. Thor becomes obsessed with saving Melody due to a drink she gave him earlier, which made him fall obsessively in love with her. Malekith uses this advantage against Thor. When the two arrive at the gates of the fairy realm, Malekith uses his reality-bending powers to project a scene in front of Thor where his supposedly mortal lover is in grave danger. So the God of Thunder forgets all about protecting Roger and the casket and lunges at the opportunity to save Melody. This is when one of the Dark Elves, Algrim the Strong, Malekith's second-in-command, attacks Thor from behind. Malekith gave him the curse armor to make him unstoppable in his fight against Thor. His attack soon renders Thor unconscious. But not for too long, because Thor soon tackles him down. The two engage in a fight, but Malekith could not care less since he now has his hands on the casket of Ancient Winters. He then sends the two hurtling down a bottomless pit and decides to blind Roger since he has seen their realm. Eventually, Roger manages to escape, and Malekith is ready to serve his master, Surtur, by opening the casket and unleashing the curse of ice upon the earth. You might be wondering why Malekith is listening to Surtur. Well, he gives us a bit of his backstory from eons ago. Eric Willis stole the casket from Malekith. Without its magic, he could not hide himself from the wrath of Odin. Soon after, Odin banished him into Black Limbo. Malekith was eventually able to reappear because Surtur released him from there. In the fairy realm, Roger hides and listens to Malekith's speech. Just as Malekith is about to open the casket in front of his underlings, Roger uses his last bullet to shoot Malekith's arm. This temporarily halts the unleashing of the casket's power. Enraged, Malekith chases after Roger to capture him. Fortunately, Thor returns from the pit and helps lure Malekith away from his minions. Thor strikes his hammer, and with a powerful bolt of lightning, the darkness dissipates, eliminating any chance for Malekith to escape into the shadows. Undeterred, Malekith boldly transforms his shape to continue fighting Thor. However, the battle ends when Thor delivers a crushing blow with his hammer, defeating him. Thor then rescues Melody, retrieves the casket, and carries an unconscious Malekith back with Roger. But Malekith regains consciousness and, despite his weakness to iron, seizes a gun to attack. Roger quickly leaps at him, causing the gun to fly toward the casket. Upon impact, the casket shatters. The inevitable happens. The casket's power is unleashed into the mortal realm. Its icy magic freezes the portal, and Surtur, along with his demons, breaks through and enters Earth. While the Avengers handle the ensuing chaos, Thor returns to Asgard with Malekith as his prisoner to present him to Odin. Odin locks Malekith away in the prison of no escape. Much later, Malekith seizes an opportunity to escape and wreak havoc in Asgard once again. Using his shape-shifting abilities, he transforms Loki into his likeness, leaving Loki to take his place in the dungeon to avoid suspicion. Meanwhile, as Balder prepares to be crowned ruler of Asgard, Malekith disguises himself as Balder to sabotage the ceremony. However, Malekith's plans are foiled by someone outside the Asgardian realm. Long ago, Malekith had given Algrim the Strong the enchanted curse armor, transforming him into the vengeful being known as Curse. Resurrected by the Beyonder, Curse returns to seek revenge on Malekith. Sensing Malekith's presence and realizing his deception, Curse confronts him in Asgard. In their clash, Curse kills Malekith by breaking his neck. This seemingly marks the end of Malekith, who is believed dead for a long time. However, years later, it's revealed that Malekith survived, proving himself to be one of Thor's most persistent and dangerous foes. Malekith in the MCU. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we first meet Malekith in the second installment of the Thor film series, Thor: The Dark World, which was released in 2013. The character is portrayed by the outstanding actor Christopher Eccleston, who is also known for his role as the ninth incarnation of Doctor Who, Destro in G.I. Joe, and Raymond Calitri in Gone in 60 Seconds, among other notable roles. Much like his comic book counterpart, Malekith in the MCU is the ruler of the Dark Elves and the realm of Svartalfheim. However, his story in the MCU differs in several ways from his origins in the comics. In Thor: The Dark World, Malekith first becomes an enemy of Odin's father, King Bor. For reasons unknown, he's hell-bent on destroying all 9 realms. To achieve this, he finds the Reality Stone and weaponizes it, transforming it into the Ether. The Ether is a mass of supernatural black sludge that can convert matter into dark matter. It bonds with a living host, and the stronger the host, the more power it unleashes to destroy anything in its path. Malekith plans to use the portals opened by the Convergence, the apex of the universe's rotary cycle, to unleash the Ether and destroy the 9 realms. However, King Bor and his forces stop him, stealing the ether. As a result, Malekith spends thousands of years hiding with Algrim, his second-in-command, and a few other Dark Elves, waiting for the convergence to occur again. This is when things take a turn. The ether is absorbed by Jane Foster, Thor's love interest. Malekith senses this and decides it's time to return. When he starts searching for the ether with the Dark Elves, he locates Jane and realizes that Thor has taken her to Asgard. The force of the ether is destroying Jane from the inside, and the only way to save her is to remove it. Malekith seizes the opportunity and devises a plan. He places a curse stone inside Algrim's body to weaken Asgard's defenses, allowing him to strike. When Algrim frees Asgard's prisoners, Malekith and his troops invade the palace and attack the city. He destroys Odin's throne and is about to capture Jane when Thor's mother, Queen Frigga, intervenes. Although Malekith is initially poised to lose, Algrim's help allows him to discover that Jane is being held elsewhere. He then orders Algrim to kill Frigga, an act Thor witnesses firsthand. Up until this point, Malekith has had a pale white face. But after Frigga's murder, Thor attacks him with a massive bolt of lightning, severely burning the right side of his face. This gives him the half-and-half look, which is not how it appears in the comics. Severely injured by Thor's attack, Malekith retreats with his forces to Svartalfheim, where Thor follows to confront him. Loki pretends to betray Thor by stabbing him, gaining Malekith's trust. This leads to Malekith extracting the ether from Jane's body, and Thor attempts to destroy it as a surprise attack. However, like King Bor before him, Thor is unsuccessful. In fact, Malekith absorbs the ether and travels to Earth to unleash it during the convergence. A series of battles ensue between him and Thor, with the two being sent to different realms. At one point, it seems that Thor might lose, as Malekith has become his equal in power. Eventually, Thor weakens Malekith through constant attacks and ultimately kills him by crushing him under his own Dark Elf flagship. Although some of the details differ in the MCU version of his story, it's clear that Malekith has proven time and again to be a worthy opponent of the gods of Asgard. He certainly gave Thor a hell of a hard time. Powers, weapons, and appearance of Malekith. Since Malekith was born into a Dark Elf family, he is naturally a Dark Elf. Before becoming a powerful sorcerer, master spellcaster, and highly skilled hand-to-hand combatant, he was born with certain abilities. Like all other Dark Elves, Malekith possesses superhuman strength, so much so that on a normal day, he can easily lift about 10 tons. However, when he uses his other abilities, his power increases, allowing him to lift up to 90 tons. Doing the math, this means his strength is 9 times greater than the average person's. He also has superhuman speed, stamina, agility, reflexes, and durability. Being a Dark Elf has also granted him an extended lifespan. He ages much slower than humans, which is why he is thousands of years old. Additionally, he's immune to any earthly diseases or infections because, after all, he's not from Earth. His ancestry also gives him a certain degree of healing abilities. Due to his fast metabolism, he can quickly recover from bodily damage. However, if he loses a limb or organ, he will require his magical powers to regenerate. Malekith's magical powers further enhance his strength. He can manipulate his magical energy to reshape himself into another person or even transform into a mist-like form, allowing him to fly over long distances. He can also teleport anywhere, even beyond the borders of space. Malekith can fire massive bursts of energy capable of inflicting serious damage. His natural Dark Elf abilities are amplified when he uses his magical powers, enabling him to increase his natural healing process, which is what allowed him to survive after being attacked by Curse. When it comes to weaknesses, Malekith does not have any special weak points, but being a Dark Elf does come with one disadvantage. Like the rest of his clan, he is vulnerable to iron. When exposed to iron, he grows physically weak, and the effects worsen if he touches it in any form. This not only renders his powers useless, but also causes him great physical pain. Let's now look at some of the weapons Malekith has possessed in the past. For a brief period, he wielded the Ebony Blade, which he took from Dane Whitman after defeating him in battle. However, the blade proved too cursed even for Malekith, so he discarded it. He certainly seems to have a thing for blades. Once he captured the Venom symbiote, he used his dark magic to manifest All Black, the Necrosword of Null. He also possessed the Casket of Ancient Winters, using its powers to freeze Asgard and Earth before it was taken from him for good. For a short time, he also had the Mandarin's rings: Spectral, Remaker, Incandescence, and Lightning. These rings briefly gave him the ability to project electrical energy blasts, disintegration beams that destroyed molecular and atomic bonds, matter rearrangement, and thermoblasts using the power of a star. Currently, as the leader of the Black Bile clan, the only special equipment he possesses is the hunting horn of Fairy, which allows him to call on the Wild Hunt whenever he desires. In the MCU version of his story, Malekith shares most of the powers of his comic counterpart. He retains all the natural superhuman abilities of a dark elf, along with his magical energy blasts, teleportation powers, and enhanced combat skills, as he remains a powerful sorcerer. However, he gains additional powers from his absorption of the Ether. The Ether grants him the ability to warp reality, project tentacles of dark energy, regenerate within seconds, and alter his size and strength. When it comes to weapons, we never see him using the hunting horn of Fairy, but he does possess an ancient dagger made of dark matter. Interestingly, the only person able to snatch the dagger from him was the Queen of Asgard, Frigga. Malekith's physical appearance in the comics differs significantly from his MCU portrayal. In the comics, he is a 6'9" tall man with white hair and blue skin. After an attack by an old sorcerer, half of his face turned black. In the MCU, before being burned by Thor, his complexion was pale with white hair, and he wore a sort of mask covering his face. Marvelous verdict. Well folks, with that we've come to the end of yet another marvelous video. Malekith has been a challenging foe for the Asgardians, and he definitely puts up a good fight against Thor. Despite his immense strength, he lacks emotional depth, and he doesn't care much for his troops. This became clear in the comics for the first time when he chose to lead his second-in-command, Algrim, to his death, knowing that Thor would die with him. He showed no compassion or even remorse for his actions. But then again, he is an incredible supervillain for a reason. Given his difficult and loveless childhood, I'm not surprised that he turned out this way. So what are some things that you like about Thor's villain? Do you think he stands a chance against any other supervillain that Thor has fought? Among the many story arcs that he's a part of, which one is your favorite? And what other characters from the Marvel Universe would you like us to explore? Let us know all about it in the comments down below. And if you liked this video, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons on your way out. It means the world to us when you help us grow. Until next time, it's goodbye. Have a good one.